All right. Welcome to another edition of WCBN Sports' presentation of socially distant sports talk. I'm Alex Drain, joined today by the longtime voice of the Detroit Lions radio network, Dan Miller. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm well, Alex. How are you?
Pretty good. Good weather out there this afternoon.
I will take it.
Yeah. So first off, we're just going to try to walk through your career and how you got to be the voice of the Detroit Lions. So first off, at what age did you know you wanted to go into sports broadcasting?
Well, I think I was probably about 8. I think I used to watch. There was a guy by the name of Warner Wolf who was the number one guy in Washington, D.C., where I grew up, and I used to watch him do sports. And when he was done, I would copy what he said. And I would just try to do what he just did. And I loved reading the paper. I loved, as I got older, we had the Washington Post in the morning and the Washington Star in the evening, and I just loved sports, and I just knew I wanted to be involved in it somehow. I think at first I thought I wanted to be a writer, and then it just kind of evolved into wanting to do something, radio, TV, whatever it was. So I knew early that I wanted to do something with sports, and it kind of always leaned that way.
Yeah. So then after college, you worked in radio as an engineer, later in TV. What was that journey of your early career like?
Well, I actually, during college, my senior year in high school, my baseball coach in high school, who was also a family friend, he was trying to get into the business as well. He had graduated from Virginia Tech and was kind of biding his time, teaching gym, coaching baseball, coaching basketball. And he was working part-time at what was then called the Mutual Radio Network, which later became Westwood One,
Yep.
Where they would hire college kids to come in on Saturdays and Sundays to produce their weekend sports shows. And we were driving back from a game once. He's driving the van, the whole team's in there, and I was sitting in the front seat. He goes, there's an opening there. You should go apply, because he knew what I wanted to do. And I did, and I went and applied. Got the job April of my senior year. I ended up staying there for 11 years. I went on full-time my junior year in college, finished up college at night. And so that was really what got me started. It was a phenomenal base because I got a little taste of everything from behind the scenes to being on mic, to producing football games, to traveling and producing football games. And it was an amazing right place, right time, broad spectrum of experience, which also introduced me to a lot of people and just really was kind of the impetus for everything that happened to me from there on out. Everything's related as you move forward and move up in your career. And that was just really, I was really fortunate that worked out that way.
So in 1997, you came to Detroit to work for Fox 2 Detroit. Was there a particular reason why you took that job in particular?
Well, there was, not to go through them all, but there was a lot before that. I got out of school and tried to find a job in television. I couldn't get hired anywhere. I sent out all my applications, all the small little markets up and down the East Coast, couldn't get a job anywhere. Was in radio at the time. Went in 92, I left Mutual Radio, went to do talk radio at the sports radio station in DC. That kind of gave me an intro to start doing some TV. I got contacted by the Fox station in DC. They had me come in and help out with their Redskin programming, which I did. That led to some anchoring. That led to the weekend job at the ABC station in DC. So I was doing weekends at ABC and then talk radio during the week. And I knew I wanted to, if possible, try to find that Monday through Friday job, or Sunday through Thursday, as it turns out. And we had, again, applied a lot of places, came close a lot of times, had a couple offers, just nothing seemed right. And then my agent called me in 97 and said, there's a news director in Detroit that likes your tape. We had no idea. They have clearinghouses where a news director can go in and say, I want a weather guy. Yeah. And there will be tape. You can just look through, and there was something he liked. went through the application process, interview, got offered the job. And it's a long way of going back to your original question, which was saying it was the opportunity that we were looking for and that it was a number one job, phenomenal sports market, and was very comfortable with all the people that I was going to be working with, and in particular, Neil Goldstein, the news director that I was going to be working for. So it just kind of came together and everything added up, and it was the right move for my wife and I at the time. And it's, one thing that you'll all have to deal with as you move forward in your career is making the decisions about how you want to proceed. And there may be opportunities that feel right, don't feel right. And you just pray you're making the right decisions at the right time. And we know we made the right decision in coming to Detroit.
So at that point in your career, you'd done a lot of, TV and radio, not as much play-by-play. When at that point in your career, were you more focused on sort of the TV news aspect of it as opposed to play-by-play, or did you have no preference?
I had done 4.5 years of play-by-play for basketball for my alma mater, George Mason. I had done their radio play-by-play, and I had done some radio TV play-by-play on their version of Fox Sports Detroit in DC. But you're right. The move was for TV. The move was to go and do the news.
Yeah.
And the play-by-play stuff all kind of came later. Some of it related to that, some of it not. But yeah, I was more focused at that point on being a sports director, doing the news, enjoyed the play-by-play, but there didn't seem to be that opportunity to support a family at that point.
Yeah.
Doing the play-by-play. So it was really the news that took precedent.
So after you got to Detroit, you did some Lions preseason play-by-play and eventually became the play-by-play guy on Lions Radio Network in 2005. Is there a backstory to how you came to getting that job?
Well, the precursor to that was in 2000, I got the invitation from Fox to go to Europe, to do NFL Europe.
Oh, wow.
And I did that. And that was kind of their proving ground. They would send you there, see how you did. And in essence, that might be your entree to doing Sunday games for Fox. And I got back from Europe after my first trip. I went twice. And I got a very nice note from Bill Brown, who was the talent guy at Fox, saying that we think you did a great job. We think you deserve to do some Sunday play-by-play. So for 5 years, I did Fox games, NFL play-by-play. By the way, that email was also included. Once he said that, here's some things you need to know. And I loved it, but there was about 5 things that he wrote that I didn't do right in my games over in Europe, which was great. It's absolutely what I needed. And the experience that I had doing Europe, doing 5 years of Fox, working with amazing people that were much more experienced than I was the foundation of everything that's been good for me in play-by-play. I learned so much. But the Lions in 2005 approached me about taking the play-by-play. The backstory is that the rights were up. One of the stations that were bidding for the rights went in with the idea of, and I did not know this was happening, but went in with the idea that I would be their play-by-play guy. That was their pitch. And I think the Lions liked that. And that's kind of what the progression was from there. They contacted me and said, what would you think about doing this? And I'm like, for me, it was a chance to stay home.
Yeah.
When I was doing games for Fox, I had to leave Thursday night or first thing Friday morning. This was a chance to just be in Detroit, do Detroit. Even the road games, you're still broadcast back to Detroit. With Fox, I was doing, I loved it, no complaints. I mean, I could be out doing Arizona and Seattle. This was a chance to grow my career in the city where I lived. So it really was, it was a no-brainer to do that. And anybody would tell you in this business to be the voice of a team is a great honor and a privilege. And I've always looked at it that way.
Yeah. So when you became the Lions play-by-play announcer, you worked with Jim Brandstatter for many years. Now you've worked with Lomas Brown. How quickly are you able to develop chemistry with your color guys?
It takes time, and it was quicker with Brandy because Brandy had more experience, to be honest with you. And Lomas would be the first one to tell you that. Lomas didn't have a ton of experience when he jumped on. He's grown amazingly by leaps and bounds, but I think it was a process where not only was Lomas getting used to me and I was getting used to him, he was getting used to his surroundings. Brandy had already been doing it for 20 some years when I jumped in there and had in fact more experience than I did.
Yeah.
So it depends on what the partnership is, and that will kind of dictate how quickly it will come. But let me say this: it doesn't always happen. I mean, there's some partners that you have that you just don't click with. I'm lucky enough that I've worked with two great guys that like to have fun. Our personalities mesh, and I've been really lucky in that regard that both of them have just been great guys to spend Sunday afternoons with. So it takes a little time regardless of who it is. Might take more time based on the experience level that you're dealing with on the other side. But, I feel great about what I do with both of them. And I know I trust them and they trust me.
So another question I have is, we as sort of Detroit sports fans place, you in this bucket with Dan Dickerson and Ken Cal and all the other guys. How often do you talk to other play-by-play guys sort of in the Detroit market?
It's kind of when you see them.
Yeah.
A lot of times we're just on different paths. Sometimes I'll see Ken out. We have mutual friends. Ken Daniels, I'll see him out sometimes, and we'll chat. But Dan Dickerson's doing the games. I'm anchoring at Fox 2. I'm doing the games on Sunday. Ken Cal is out, in Edmonton.
Yeah.
So it's, you're in the fraternity together, but you're kind of in different fraternities because you're doing different things. But there's always, I think, the ability when you do come together to know that you have shared experiences and that you can talk. And I talk to other NFL play-by-play guys that are kind of living a parallel life to what I'm living. And you can share experiences and what's going on and pick each other's brains and things like that. So I think there's always the comfort level when you see those guys. And I have tremendous respect for what they do. Starting with hockey guys, I don't know how they do it. I could never do hockey. I'm amazed by what they do. I think they're phenomenal. And, I look at a guy like Dan Dickerson who does, with exhibition games, 180 games a year, whatever it is, I'm blown away by that. And, a guy like George and Mark, what they do for the Pistons, and George especially for, 44 years in this market, something along those lines, just incredible. So, we're blessed. And obviously Ernie is kind of up there as the, the patriarch of all of us. We're blessed to have that kind of, people that have worked here. So it's a long way of saying probably don't talk with them as much as maybe you'd like to, because you're off doing different things. But whenever you do, there's always a bond.
That actually brings up a question I had. Is football your favorite sport to do play-by-play for, or is it just sort of the one you ended up in?
I do miss basketball. I loved doing basketball. I wouldn't say necessarily that I enjoyed it more. I love that football is such an event.
Yeah.
And to me, it's the 7 days that you have to build up to that event. It's when that game ends on Sunday, you turn the page on Monday, and as you go through the week, regardless if your team is 7-3 or 3-7, you figure out a way that if your team does X, Y, and Z, they can win on Sunday. And it's that buildup. And I think it's one of the things that makes the league special is there's only 16 cracks. Every one of them is important. And you have to, be mindful of that. So I do think that part of it draws me to football. And the suddenness of the game, I love. Where things can change so quickly. So, I've not done baseball, not done hockey, love basketball, love football. But I think that's kind of the distinction I draw between the two is just that event nature of football where if you lose on Wednesday, you're not coming back Thursday to play again. You got to wait another week.
Yeah.
So there's a difference there.
Over the years, you've got to call a lot of, great games in your career. If you could single out one game that was your favorite Lions game to call, what would it be?
It's tough. That I will tell you definitively, it hasn't come yet because I'm waiting for the same one we're all waiting for.
Yeah.
But of the ones that I've called, there's moments and there's games. Saints, Lions, Glover Quinn picking off Drew Brees at Ford Field, just felt like the roof was going to come off that place. It was so loud. Games, being down 27-3 against Dallas in Dallas and coming back and winning that game was unbelievable. The Stafford game against Dallas here when he took it across himself. The game against San Diego to clinch the playoffs when Jim Schwartz sent the team back out to run around the stadium. I don't know if I could narrow it down to just one. For all the wrong reasons, the Hail Mary by Rodgers. I don't know if I could narrow it down to just one. Like I said, I think the one is still out there that we're waiting for. But there have been some incredible moments that you just – they're the reasons that you do what you do because you live for that. And there have been some great moments that I've been fortunate enough to be in there for. I mean, the Minnesota game with Golden scoring in overtime. Was just the field goal that got him to overtime, the drive that got him to the field goal in overtime. Those are probably some of them that would stick out for me.
I think one for me is the Stafford game against the Browns in 2009.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us Lions fans, it was blacked out in the Detroit market. And so I remember sitting in the car listening to you because we couldn't watch it on TV and that dramatic ending. So that one's always in my mind.
Yeah, I mean that was amazing, and just thinking he's out, Culpepper's coming in, then all of a sudden he's coming back in, and to do that, and knowing how hurt that he was, and I was talking to somebody about that the other day, and I said I think that game became more dramatic later when we saw the NFL films and we realized how hurt he was.
Yeah,
it certainly was dramatic in the moment. There's no question about that, but even more so. With what I think they have called at NFL Films some of the most dramatic footage that they've ever had.
Yeah. So for a lot of Lions fans, your sort of most recognizable thing is the touchdown Detroit Lions call. Where did that come from? Was that something you worked on and developed, or did it just kind of come spontaneously?
When I got the job, I knew that I wanted to have something.
Yeah.
And we sat around my office at Fox 2, myself, Ryan Armani, Greg Cantor, my two producers, and we just went through stuff. We just kept coming up with them, and we were trying to find something. And in the end, that is a call from one of the people that had a big impact on my career, who did the Redskins for many years and had been out for 2 years when I got the job. His call was touchdown Washington Redskins, and his name was Frank Herzog. Frank was a huge influence on me growing up and then having the opportunity to work with him. And so that's really where that call came from. That is in many ways. And it's funny, I did a Fox game in Washington. I went back there, which was going back home for me, and did a game, and Frank had been let go the year before. And I had told some buddies, I said, if we get an important Redskin touchdown, I'm going with a touchdown Washington Redskins. And I did on a Clinton Portis touchdown. Unfortunately, he got called back on a penalty. But Frank was, man, you need people in your career that lift you up a little bit.
Yeah.
And that tell you can do this, because it's the beginnings can be tough. Because you hear no a lot and you begin to doubt yourself. And I just remember I was doing Redskins pre and post game, and we were down in Tampa. We were actually driving to play golf, and Frank was driving the car, and I was sitting in the back seat. And I just remember he kind of looked in the rearview mirror. He said, you can do this. I wasn't even sure he was talking to me. And I'm like, do what? And he's like, what I'm doing. He goes, the play-by-play, the TV, because he was doing Channel 7 television during the week and the Redskins play-by-play. And he goes, you can do all of it. He said, just keep grinding. You can do this. And I never forgot that. And I've had a lot of people that have helped me in my career. And I am mindful of that. I'm thankful for that. Then I try to help other people if I can, because I know what kind of impact they had on me. But it's a long explanation for that call coming from somebody who really is the voice in my head when I hear play-by-play from my youth with the Redskins, and that call came from him.
Interesting. So obviously this fall, we assume there will be another NFL season, a bit of turnover in the offseason with the Lions, new draft. Do you have any thoughts on the upcoming season?
Well, I mean, coming out of last season, the whole thing was the defense has to be better. The whole thing was, if this team's going to improve, that defense has to be markedly better. I think the offense will be fine. I'm hopeful that they will have a better running game than they've had in the past. But they were so good at the beginning of last year, and Stafford was so good working with Bevel. I think they will continue to grow. I can't sit here and tell you they're going to be able to run the ball. I do think they've put the focus on that, and I hope that they'll be able to do that. Vaitai should help. He's a good run blocker. They've drafted a couple rookie guards that I know they're hoping can step in and fight for position and get in there and play. I think Ragnow will continue to grow. Decker will continue to grow. Adding Swift is significant. Healthy carry on. Bo played really well last year and can have a role as well. So hoping they can run. Know they'll be able to pass. TJ Hawkinson will take a step up as well. It's a defense, and that's really what I'm looking at. What I think everybody's probably looking at is, can they be better? Can they make quarterbacks uncomfortable? Can they get after the passer? Can you force some mistakes? All things they didn't do a good job of last year. I think just coming back off last year with nothing added, they would have been better, because I think some guys didn't play up to their potential last year. I think he had some injuries during training camp that really hurt him, and guys didn't get any traction for a while. Snacks didn't get any traction. Daniels didn't get any traction. Trey Flowers was 3-4 games before he really kicked in. Those guys barely played at all during the preseason. I think you saw that really hurt. So I'm hopeful that what they've added, along with guys coming back healthy, ready to go, year in the system, will be better. But that, to me, is really what it boils down to. You've got to be better defensively.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Another sort of question related to that, obviously NFC North had a lot of changes in the offseason. Things turned over the defense. Packers drafted a quarterback. How do you see the NFC North shaking out?
Well, Rodgers is Rodgers, and I'm always going to be, respectful of the Packers as long as he's there. And you gotta beat him. And you got to find some way to do that. And they did a great job adding to their defense last year with Preston and Zadarius Smith and kind of lifting that thing up by getting those edges. Minnesota lost a lot, but they're still so talented.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of guys off that defense. But, look, I still think they're going to be a very good team. I think Chicago's got a lot of questions they have to answer, but so do the Lions. I think right now, being fair, you'd have to look at it and you'd say, if you just go by where we are, it's Minnesota and Green Bay at the top, and everybody else has to prove where they are. That means the Lions have to prove it. You're coming off 3-12-1. That's not a huge statement.
Yeah.
They've got Rodgers. They've got, Cousins coming back and an offense that, while they lose Diggs, and that's significant, is still going to be very good. And they've still got pieces on that defense. Danielle Hunter is one of the biggest nightmare players I've ever called games with a guy against the Lions. It just seems like he just, every time they play him, he just makes an impact. So I think you put those two teams at the top. But look, this league is built on teams turning things around quickly. And I believe that the Lions, if they can get that defense, can be one of those teams. But you got to do the work. And you got to – nobody hands you anything in this league. So I go in thinking they got a chance. And I'm anxious to see what it's going to look like.
So another thing about being the Lions play-by-play guy is there's been a lot of, tough moments over the years, be it the 2008 season or even last year after Stafford's injury. Are there ever moments where you just sort of struggle to go out there and call another Lions game, or
It's hard.
yeah,
Look, look, I'm human. I'm invested in this thing.
yeah,
Okay. Look, I don't care what anybody says. If you're a play-by-play guy for a team, you're rooting for that team. Other
yeah,
people say, oh, you can't root. You need to call the game, be honest, tell people when it's good, tell people when it's bad. But when all is said and done, when you're the play-by-play guy for a team going into your 16th year, you're rooting for that team. So when they're up, you're up. When they're down, you're down. You got a job to do. Can't change the way that you conduct yourself and do your job and be a professional. But to say that you don't feel it when they go 0-16, that's not true. To say that you don't feel it when they struggle and go 3-12-1, that's not true. Again, doesn't change that you have a job to do, but there are emotions tied to it. In many ways, you have the same emotions that fans have because you're riding the same roller coaster. So Brandy and I had a mantra in 08, and we leaned on each other a lot during what was a tough year. And we would just look at each other and we would always say, call the next play. There's a game happening in front of you. Call the next play. Regardless of what the score is, there's a play happening. It's your job to call it, and it's your job to make that presentation for the fans. And that's what we would do. And that's always kind of been my thought, is call the next play. The toughest part often isn't Sundays, because there's a game happening, and the game becomes a story, and the story writes itself. The tough part can sometimes be during the week, when you have all the content that you have to turn out for the broadcast, and teams on a losing streak, coaches aren't happy, players aren't happy, and it becomes a tough environment. That's the harder part. But look, anybody that tells you that going through a losing season as the play-by-play guy is the same as going through a season when the team is winning as the play-by-play guy is blowing smoke up your you-know-what, because that's just not true. The best part of this job is winning. Best part of this job is seeing fans happy. Worst part of the job is losing. Worst part of the job is seeing fans hacked off. There's nothing better than feeling that victory at Ford Field.
yeah.
And your emotions rise with that crowd, and it's a good Sunday. That's when this job is really, really fun. But you never lose sight of the fact that it's an honor, it's a privilege. There's 32 guys in the world that do what I do on a given Sunday, that they're the voice of an NFL team. And you never lose sight of that. And while it may be tough, you realize you're really fortunate to have the gig.
Is there a particular city you look forward to traveling to during an NFL season? Like,
I'm looking forward to going to Vegas. We haven't been
yeah,
yet, so that'll be fun. But you know, we're kind of lucky in the NFC North, Minnesota, and it breaks my heart to see what's gone on in Minneapolis.
yeah,
But it's a great city. It's a great city to land in. One of the fun parts of the job is you go in on Saturday and you have dinner with good friends on Saturday night. You go out and have a great meal, and then you get ready to go to work on Sunday. And Chicago, great. Minneapolis, great. So to be able to go to those, and Green Bay, there's a couple little hole-in-the-wall restaurants that we love to go to when we go there. So we're really fortunate that the places we go every year are pretty cool. But look, you find the charm in any city, and I think any media guy, any NFL play-by-play guy would tell you one of the cool things is going out with your buddies on Saturday night before the game and having dinner and just, you know, shooting the bull with guys that and gals that have the same life you have, and they're living, you know, parallel existences, and you just go out and share a good time. So I love those cities, but all of them, you name one, we could probably find a pretty good restaurant that we've been to, and we know where we're going on that Saturday night.
yeah. What is calling a game in London like? Lions have gone over there a few times, and
Not a huge fan.
yeah,
Not a huge fan. The first of all, the people were great. The game was great. One of the great things about the NFL to me, and being an NFL broadcaster, is that every week you kind of do the same thing, and you fall into a rhythm over the 16 weeks of the regular season. I know on Monday, I'm interviewing Coach for the radio show. I'm interviewing Matthew for TV. I'm doing the radio show. On Tuesday, I'm interviewing Coach for our TV show on Sunday. Wednesday, I usually don't have much going on. Thursday, I've got a player. Friday, I do coach for the pregame show. Every week, it's the same thing. And I love that uniform, know where you're going to be, and you fall into a rhythm.
Yeah.
London throws all of that off for a week before and a week after.
Yeah.
Look, it was great. Been there twice. Loved the experience. People were great. Fans were awesome. Loved being able to see London. But given my druthers, frankly, I'd rather stay stateside, do an away game. Time difference messes you up for a while. It just throws you out of rhythm. And you know, I prefer the week-to-week system that we have here. Lions get another London game. I'm going to be on that plane, and we're going to go. I'm sure they would have had one this year had this not happened, and we would have made it happen. But I just prefer stateside and just the constant rhythm of the season uninterrupted.
Understandable. The last question I got for you is, if you could give one piece of advice to college-age broadcasters, what would it be?
Work hard. Work hard. Just understand. It'd probably be more than one piece of advice, but it is work hard. It is don't let no define you, because you're going to hear that a lot.
Yeah.
But all it takes is one person to say yes. All it takes is one person to believe in you, and one person to give you an opportunity, because I tell people all the time, your first job is the hardest one to get, because it takes you from sitting down and telling somebody, here's what I think I can do, to in your next opportunity saying, here's what I've done. Boom. And that's a big difference. But never count hours. I didn't say no to anybody, I don't think, until I was in my mid-40s, because I knew if I said no, somebody else would say yes. Work your butt off. Understand that you're defining yourself with the performance that you put out there. Be a good coworker. Be somebody that people want to have around. That makes a major difference. And it will make a major difference in terms of the opportunities you get. If you're a jerk, people don't want you around. Days of putting up with that are long gone. I think those are the things that I would hope define me. And I would say to anybody out there, be prepared for the grind, love it, believe in yourself, and just keep going after something that you believe that you can do. Don't let somebody telling you can't define you. Because believe me, for whatever I have made of myself, there are a whole lot of people that said no to me for a long time before I was finally able to break through with a lot of luck, but sticking to it. It would have been easy to walk away, but you can't do it, because you got to believe that you can make it in this business.
All right. That's all I've got for you. Thank you for doing this. This was a lot of fun.
I appreciate it, Alex. Thank you for having me, and good luck to you and everybody else grinding through at college radio. I remember college radio well. You guys will love looking back on this experience and hopefully making friends that you'll have for a long time. So
all right.
I appreciate you letting me do it.
Yep. Thank you.